Good morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever time of day it is with you. I am Jeff McConey, and with me in the booth is Gary Weaver. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and he is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Spa is a track unlike any other, and in today's race, we're going to be seeing it tackled by cars you wouldn't normally expect to see. The Skip Barber Formula 2000s, or Skippies for short. They're described as one of the most basic but purest racing cars in existence, and for a good reason. These single-seater cars are just 1,250 pounds and have a 150 horsepower power plant placed directly behind the driver. These cars are quick though, accelerating to 100 miles an hour or 160 kilometers per hour in under 10 seconds. On top of that, these cars are able to take turns at a fairly high speed, and making passes on corner entry is a possibility that drivers will likely utilize throughout this race, especially at a track like this. Let's take a look at what these drivers will be up against though. Thank you to our track guide to Spa.
Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round.
Gary, this season so far has been all about strategy, as well as testing these drivers with two major tasks: driving the car fast and winning a mental game of chess against your competitors. How much of an impact do you think that will have on the outcome of this race, especially at a track that is so difficult to drive? What do these drivers need to do to find a good finish here?
Well, so you can see how difficult this track is at 4.35 miles or 7 kilometers with 19 turns. It is absolutely brutal, essentially, in these cars. Although very fun track to drive, especially here in the Absolute Beginner Series. I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go. But so far, of course, these small cars have to tackle a large track like this, and that mental game is going to be very, very important, especially with the fact that some of these drivers may have to utilize the draft, or maybe even think about, maybe I shouldn't be pushing the car too hard and leading the draft. So the drivers really needing to find a good finish here. They have to stay in the draft with the lead pack, and well, other than that, they just have to make it to the end.
Making it to the end is certainly one of the most important things to do here in a 40-minute race. It sounds like a lot of time to make your move, but one tiny mistake can throw off your entire race. So you have to be careful and be perfect for 40 minutes if you want to find your way to the front here. They call it the absolute beginners, but some of these guys are pretty darn good. Season 16 champ David Third Degree Burns has won both races this season. He's second on the career wins list now with 7. So keep an eye on him throughout this race to try and find his way to a 3rd win in this season alone.
And see in the driver standings how essentially close it is between your top 3, while Alex Johnson and Lee Anderson in 4th and 5th respectively, they are just about 4 points behind, 4 points separating each other. So there's a little bit of a battle between themselves as well as they head into this race. Maybe something to look forward to as well.
Absolutely right. We saw on the graphic there that Iro Nam is sitting in third place. He has 65 career starts and 9 championships under his belt for this series. He's actually never gone more than 2 races without a win. And if he doesn't win today, that streak is gone. So he certainly wants to go out there and run quickly. He was fastest in practice. Keep an eye on him throughout the race because he needs a win to keep his legacy intact. I'm sure he's worried about that.
Yeah, but right now I just have to make it really through the race. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, to be quite honest, that somebody would be a little bit worried, especially coming into this race. But overall, you just have to take it race by race, really not think about the points until the near end of the season, maybe the final few races. But I can definitely understand on keeping an eye on the points and thinking maybe this move could cost me some points. So definitely understandable. But right now, lap here takes nearly 3 minutes, but most, or at minimum, taken about 2 minutes and 46 seconds. So this race is essentially, in terms of laps, going to go by very short.
It absolutely is. Under 20 laps here, probably closer to about 15 or so when it all comes down, all is said and done. Iro Nam is now currently sitting on the pole, a 2:47.7. He's not pulling off, though. He's still out there running, going to try and put down some better laps. He should be able to get a few more laps in, 5 or 6 laps total, to see which one is his fastest. During the race, though, we have to remember to keep an eye on him. He likes to pit early and stay out of the draft train. He likes to hot lap as well without drivers right behind him.
That's going to be very important here as we head into our race details for Spa. And again, it's going to be round 1 of 5, the 20th season of the Absolute Beginner Series. It's going to be a 40-minute race. Open sets with 51% of fuel. So these drivers will have to pit at some point during this race. And the incident cap is at 17, which is something to really keep an eye on. Get in 1 too many wrecks, or at most about 4 to 5 too many wrecks, including an off-track, well, you're pretty much done for the day early on.
It is, and there's a lot of places at this track where you can easily slip off. Especially, you have to remember the first corner, La Source, very, very difficult to make that hard right-hander if you miss your braking zone. You're going right off into the gravel. With the damage model on these cars here on iRacing, it will just tear the car apart. If you lose a tire, let's say in turns 2 or 3, you're going to have to go around the entire track either with 3 tires, which is far beyond optimal, or you're going to have to tow it and lose all that time. So you have to make sure you keep the car in one piece because as durable as they are, if things go wrong, they're quite fragile.
Yeah, these tires can easily snap off, and that's something to really, really be a little bit wary of. Close racing is possible. You can bump tires if you want to, but not without consequence, that's for sure, unless you are somehow incredibly lucky, but it's very highly advised to not do so, especially here. But right now, I'm looking at the gas between these drivers here on the timing tower, and you can see that, well, some of these drivers are right up against each other's gearboxes. I'm looking at Nam and Francisco's lap time. They are 0.3 of a second separated as compared to the entire rest of the field, which is over a second off, and that's just within the top 2 compared to the entire rest of the field. And to me personally, that's something that I'm not used to, even if some people just haven't had the draft yet.
You are absolutely right, and right now Diogo Francisco is stuck right behind that back bumper of Michael Haflitzen. He really couldn't get around. I'm not sure if that's going to hurt his lap time in the end here, but Iro Nam, another 2:47.7 being his fastest time. But Haflitzen with a 2:47.5, he is now at the top of the charts. So a new guy has thrown his hat into the ring here for fastest time. You also have Johan van der Velde, the fan belt, a 2:47.9. He's up to 3rd.
I'm starting to look at the times again. It's now about pretty much 6th place on back, with this being over a second. So now that the lap times are starting to slowly make their way in and drivers are starting to really get used to it, they're starting to really utilize the draft a lot more, and this essentially is working as a little bit of a practice race now, as when we see a few drivers trying to make passes here. This could be a passing zone right there, that long back straightaway.
The Kemmel Straight is certainly a place you can make something happen, but you have to be careful. Entering turn 7, it's a hard right-hander followed immediately by a left-hand turn, and then another right-hand turn. You usually take that at about second or third gear, depending on how fast you manage to enter it. I was curious, you might have heard me a bit surprised before about Ironam's lap. We were talking about mental mistakes these drivers make, and the incident points, he managed to slip off track just the tiniest bit, and his lap time wasn't validated, so it could have been a quicker lap, but it wasn't counted. Remember, it's very easy to go just the tiniest bit off track here, and that mental mistake cost Ironam a quicker lap and the pole at the moment.
Yeah, some of these corners, admittedly, for me, whenever I drive Spa, it's challenging, that's for sure, especially here as we're taking a look at the number 64 for the time being. Currently still running a lap. Actually, that lap did not go through as of yet, so, and also running all on his lonesome. So for some of these drivers running just all alone, they have no one to work with, and I'm pretty sure they really don't want to risk losing any time to try and maybe wait in their pit stalls or wait on pit exit and then try and pick up the tow from them.
If you leave pit road at this point, you're not going to be able to make a lap. There's not enough time. So if you're out on track, you got to just do anything you can here to try and put down a quicker lap time with just under 5 minutes now, coming to 4 minutes left in qualifying. It's do or die time at this point. You have to go with what you got.
Tommy Nylander, unfortunately, 251, 126. That's not going to count. I believe it was his outlap is the reason, but if that was an actual lap time, he'd be about 30th or so right now. And some drivers have been running 251s or 250s, most of which about looking 21st on back, running in the 250s for some drivers. Now Alex Johnson is now the fastest driver with just about within a tenth. And right when I said that, Diogo Francisco by 7/10 of a second is back up on top.
He's right. You are right there. And Ironam, another mistake. He comes out of this with a 247.9. So he should be able to get one more lap in, but you got to get frustrated behind the wheel. And that's the worst thing a driver can do is get frustrated. You start to miss your marks. And at a track like this, you really can't afford to not be fully focused. And right now, that 48 of Diogo Francisco is doing a very great job. Like you said, 7/10 over second place. He's definitely cruising out here, and right now making a pass on the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, currently making a pass as well as using that massive train of cars in front of him as well for that drafting. But this comes into a little bit of play here for him, is that he can't really push as hard as he can because he doesn't really want to, well, A, overdrive the car, of course, and go off the track, like almost right there. But he also doesn't really want to risk running into the back of somebody, which of course is even a little bit more important. And so far as he's right on top of that gearbox, so far he's really just trying to get home at this point. I'm pretty sure that the slower drivers in front of him are maybe a little bit worried at some cases, and Francisco's a little bit frustrated as he's going to get a run. Does he make a pass? He does not. He looks, but yeah, that's something that's really going to slow his lap time down.
It is. Road racing is an art, and even qualifying, you're trying to do everything you can, and it's the tiniest of mistakes that can really add up over time. He's stuck behind a slower car. That's Ludwig Sauer, and Ludwig isn't doing anything wrong. He's out there driving his line, but Diogo is much quicker, and right now he's got to be frustrated going, well, you could at least just let me by, but that 10 car would throw away his lap. He's got to just run his line and pretend that nobody's behind him.
This is going to be something that we are going to be seeing throughout the race more than likely. So take a look at Alex Janssen, who's in the middle. He's actually going to go out wide, and this is actually quite an interesting way to let people by without losing too much time. You can still get a little bit of a run with the cars in front and not lose too much time. We'll see how his lap time fares, but this, I believe, could be his lap time. We'll see how when the session expires, how much available time is left after the minute from now, but should be at least one more shot for Alex Janssen here. Francisco, unfortunately, he's had to throw away his lap in the background, and that's going to be it for him. And Alex Janssen with no improvement.
Van de Velde, the fan belt is up to second, just 6/10 off of the leader, Diogo Francisco. Diogo actually ended up losing a front left tire coming to pit road, so he is now done for qualifying. They're coming to 30 seconds remaining in the session. Michael Haflidason is now up to second place, though, just a few thousandths of a second quicker than the fan belt. That number 18 car, though, looking to have a good starting spot in this race.
Yeah, and we'll see as he crosses the start-finish line how much time is available. At least one more shot. I'd say keep on going and just hope for the best, but we'll see really what everyone else does. But everyone else past the start-finish line now at this point will be able to make it. The question is which drivers will not make it. And those are the ones that are just wrapping up the lap time. I believe Matt Tempest is one of those drivers that is not available to make it. And you can see there are 4 minutes remaining. And that's just more than enough time for some drivers to finish up their current run. So this is definitely the money lap for some drivers.
It is, and I'm sure Ironam is hoping for a money lap. He ran a 2:47.6 the last time around. He's sitting in 6th place. Remember, we were talking earlier, his streak of not winning for more than 2 races right now is at risk. He needs to win today if he wants to keep that streak intact. The 9-time champion is pushing this car pretty hard, trying to get a good starting spot.
We'll see. He's at the very back of a little bit of a train here as someone in that train goes around. That is unfortunately Ludwig Sauer, who goes around, just pushed a bit too hard, I think, going into that corner. Yeah, actually clipped the grass as well. So, again, something we could be seeing throughout the race as we're taking a look at the drivers that are currently starting to finish up their lap times here. And with Nam being at the end of this train, this could help him out a lot.
It could. This is the time for him to make something happen, and we know a 9-time champion is the one to get it done here, and the most likely to get it done, it seems. But Diogo Francisco is hoping that he is able to hold on to this front spot. He's off track at the moment after an earlier incident. He knew he wouldn't be able to put down a faster lap time than what he had. So now he's just sitting there anxiously waiting for this session to end, just pretty much saying to himself, come on, hurry up and get done with it already.
Yeah, he's keeping an eye on those times and the timing screen most likely. So we'll see how these final 4 or so drivers come through the final 2 chicanes here, as they're going to finish up their lap times. Nam with the preferred lane almost. It's going to be side by side between all 4 of these drivers trying to get a better lap time. We'll see if anyone improves here coming across the line.
Across the line,
the
81 kept a 2:46.823, but it didn't count for Ironam. Lap time invalidated at some point along the way, so he will take the grid here in 6th place. But let's take a look here as these guys start to finish up their qualifying, if anyone else can try and get a faster time.
Yeah, a couple drivers left, one going way off the track. I'm seeing Greg Plankert, I believe, the number 2, starting to finish up his lap time as well, coming through the final corners, as well as multiple other drivers. At this point, it should be pretty much all said and done for pretty much everyone else finishing up their qualifying times. No time for the number 2 as of yet. He crosses the start-finish line, and still no lap time, unfortunately. Going into the starting grid for the Absolute Beginner Series, a standing start as well. Well, John, this is going to be Jeff, this is going to be quite interesting.
It certainly is going to do it. Sorry, some technical difficulties on my side have now since been sorted out. But taking a look at the grid, Diogo Francisco is going to be starting in 1st with Michael Haflidason in 2nd. Johan van Velt is going to be starting in 3rd. Alex Janssen in 4th. David Third Degree Burns will start 5th. Ironam takes the grid in 6th. Lee Anderson in 7th. Nick Carty in 8th. Neil Bamber in 9th. And Yus Young takes the grid from the 10th position.
Roughly 40 drivers starting in total. It's going to be Luis Rodriguez, Lujan starting in 11th. Ludwig Sauer starts 12th. 13th is going to be Andre Seelander. 14th is going to be Vincent Brem. 15th, Thomas Kick. 16th is going to be Wojtek Potosek. 17th is going to be Jonas in the number 64 machine, whose last name I unfortunately cannot pronounce for the time being. It's going to be Henrik, I believe, Camara in the 18th position. Eric Lukel starts 19th, and 20th is going to be Alice Fotik.
Christopher Yudo starts 21st. I hope I said that right. Josh Brain 22nd. Scott Angelo 23rd. Rodrigo Cabaleto 24th. Christopher Cook starts 25th. Pablo Lozano Santiuste starts 26th. Timmy Nylander 27th. Paul Carey 28th. Neil Smet 29th with Simon Witten in 30th.
Rounding out the rest of the field of 40 cars, it's going to be from row 16 to row 20 here on your screen, as I believe most drivers are gridded for the time being. I believe maybe one or two more have yet to grid for the time being, but you can see the final 40 drivers. And, well, Jeff, this is going to be something to really look out for. Only about 2 drivers yet to take the qualifying time as the lights are out. Green lights.
Coming at the start here, Iro Nam with a fantastic start. The 96 seems to have stalled it and barely gets it rolling. He's going to lose a lot of positions right here at the start, a major mental mistake. But Diogo Francisco working the outside going into turn 1. Now they come to the large hill up here. That is going to be the big story of the day. How brave are you going to be going up the hill in turn 2 here? How are you going to manage that throughout the course of the entire race? But 40 minutes to go here as these guys are climbing.
And right now it's a wide, massive amount of cars, and immediately it's going to be single file through El Rouge and heading down the Kemmel Straight, and it's going to be an immediate pass by the 81 of Hafledison on the outside lane. Driver's left-hand side, joining him behind, it's going to be Vandeveld as they make their way into the first chicane.
Coming into the first chicane, looks like the 81 has the advantage, but has to give some room there to Diogo Francisco. Now they are side by side and clears. That 81 takes the lead, all fanning out behind. Everyone's trying to get as much track position as possible. We can expect to see a train here at the front that will sort of pull away from everyone else. We'll see how long it takes to form.
And right now, Hafledison breaking loose, just hangs on to it on the left-hand side of the course, and well, luckily for him, he's just able to hang on to it. Nothing too major, but really it's going to lose him the position. But regardless, he does manage to hang on to it, and he's going to fall right behind Diogo Francisco, just like nothing had even happened.
He certainly is. That's the danger of cold tires in these cars. They like to slide out, and you can miss your corner entry very, very easily. Iro Nam is up to 5th place at the moment, looking for more. We can expect to see him pit early compared to these other drivers. Keep an eye on him as he looks low, thinks better of it, and now falls back in line. Diogo Francisco leads the group, though, coming into the next set of corners. He gets a little bit wide, and Michael Hafledison is looking for a run.
Hafledison is absolutely determined, but at the same time, I can understand that while being determined, as we have a crash in the back, that's number 5 of Timmy Nylander, who is involved in someone else missing a right rear wheel, unfortunately, and it's going to be replayed a little bit later on. We'll get to that at some point, but right now it's a little bit of a crash in the back. I was wondering when we would be seeing that, but so far only just one crash this lap as they make their way into the final set of corners for the first time.
I saw some debris flying up near the front. I don't know if that was left over from before and managed to just bounce its way down the track. But right now, the fan belt is looking high on the 81 to the outside of him. Thinks better of it. Coming into the last chicanes, they are getting ready for their first completed lap, though. And Diogo Francisco started on the pole, and he's going to stay there and lead the first lap.
And at this point, I'm pretty sure if Hafledison is wondering, maybe it should be worth more saving fuel rather than trying to go for the lead. And at this point, it looks like there is a little bit of a breakaway between your front group, and that is specifically with the top 13, a little bit of a gap now to 14th on back.
And within that, even from 6th to 7th, Lee Anderson is sort of the tail of this front group, sliding in behind Iro Nam. And in 7th is Neil Bamber. He's got about 0.8 seconds to the 45 car behind him, the 337 does. So we could see the front 6 even break away, but not if they're battling at the front like they are. Hafledison goes all the way to the left side of the track. Diogo Francisco defends the right, defends that line, but loses position in the end. That's going to give the advantage to the fan belt, and he's going to lead the way into turn 7.
Well, Francisco, just like that, gets shuffled out of the lead within about 2 corners, well, straight away in a couple corners at the most right now. And, well, for the time being, as I head down into Bruxelles, that's 10 and 11, essentially. Well, we're turn 10 for this portion of the racetrack. The long, sweeping right-hander, slightly downhill in elevation, and then straight right back into another left-hander. Good series of corners, very fun. Sometimes when you take it correctly and get a really good run, it's sometimes a little bit challenging as well in some cases, but regardless, all these drivers starting to make their way through, and Halfwooderson unfortunately still stuck in second behind Vanderbilt.
It seems like he's been stuck in second place all the time here. He gets a run, gets out front, and then somebody else gets a run on him. Alex Janssen, though, started in 4th. He's all the way back to 14th now. We saw him stalling it on the start, and he's got some rear-end damage as well. He's struggled on pit lane these past couple weeks, and right now, struggling at the start. It could be a very long day for that 96 car. Hopefully he can try and make something happen, though. That Scandinavian driver is probably getting a bit frustrated at the moment.
I see that bent rear wing, unfortunately, and that's definitely not the best way to have a rear wing, but luckily for him, it's still attached for the most part. So we'll see how this plays out as Halfwooderson makes his way down to the left-hand side of Vanderbilt for the lead as they go down into the final chicane for the most part. Turn 18 right here, this little left-hand kink essentially for the most part, but Vanderbilt looking to the left-hand side as well to try and get the inside advantage here for turn number 20. Will it work? It will not. Halfwooderson manages to finally secure the lead at the start-finish line, and I'm pretty sure he's really relieved that now he's going to be the one leading the train, setting the pace, and the one using the most fuel for the time being.
He is, and you know, no good deed goes unpunished here at the moment. Now he's out there at the front, but like you said, he's eating up the most fuel, and he has to not make any mistakes. He goes wide in turn 1 right there. The fan belt looked inside, thought better of it, and decided to back out. Now coming into Eau Rouge up here, this is where you can make a big move. You can also make a big mistake. Overdriving this hill, man, it can really throw your race apart. Even corner exit, you can rack up incident points quite easily by going a little wide on the exit. It's an unforgiving track, and right now you see Diogo Francisco go to the left side, get into the grass, has to hold on to it and kills his momentum. That opens the door for Third Degree to take it 3 wide and get the lead going into turn 7.
How fitting is that for someone with, in their nickname, Third, to make it 3 wide? It's a little bit fitting, and he just absolutely powered straight through everybody out of nowhere. He was sitting back and thought, hey, look, there's an opening. You know what? I'll take this, and I'll run with it. You guys have fun behind me. So David Burns, absolutely great capitalization and great awareness to really use this track to his advantage.
You are absolutely right. Taking a look a bit further back to this second group, though, it started to split away from everybody else. Right now, you just see a long train. You see Yus Young sort of out there by himself in 7th at the moment. In 8th, a little bit further behind, about 10 car lengths back. So not as well formed up as this front group, but they are all sitting within a couple car lengths of each other, trying to just keep pace, save fuel, and not make any mistakes here over the course of 40 minutes. Although we're already coming in at about 10 minutes into this race, roughly. So be ready here, because now we're starting to see these guys get a little bit more aggressive here. They're starting to feel a bit of the heat.
And you see all these drivers around 7th place. It's more of, I'm not sure if it's really a group at this point. It's more of just a really strung out train for the most part. There was a slow driver that the leaders did pass. That is Rodrigo Capelto. And for some reason in that number 69 machine, he's running about 50 miles per hour. And he's all the way in the back. He did go to pit row, but after pit row, he's been running about 40 to 50 miles per hour slower. And I don't see any visible damage. So maybe a little bit of mechanical issues in car for that machine, unfortunately.
That is certainly a possibility. Up here towards the front, the fan belt goes to the inside of David Burns, makes a pass on driver's right, coming into this hard right-hander for the first chicane. Out of chicane number 2, your leader is going to be the number 18 car. These guys are slicing and dicing for the lead. You have to wonder if it's everyone is sharing the fuel burning equally, or if these guys all just want to lead a lap here in the Absolute Beginner Series.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be both for the most part. As you can see now, fastest lap being set by Ludwig Sauer. Interestingly enough, he is all the way back in 10th place at the time being, so he's got a lot of space to work with apparently for that last lap. So looking out for him is that number 10 machine, appropriately enough, also in 10th place. So we'll see how this goes, but for the time being, leaders making their way through, and I'm wondering if David Burns is going to try and make another bit of an attempt to try and get back into the lead here, as he'll make his way alongside, and it will be a pass for the lead, but expect him to get passed back later on in this lap, as the 81 is going to get squeezed and Halfledison with nowhere to go except behind David Burns' gearbox. Unfortunately, just like that, nowhere to go. He's already shuffled out of the run this time.
Wow, it really looked like the fan belt was going to make a move on the right side there and dive bomb David Burns, but Third Degree planned for it. That's why he's won both races this two races this season, excuse me. He is certainly trying to flex his muscles here as he absolutely held off the fan belt. That 18 car made it look easy, you know, not even a challenge to him, it looked like.
Oh, 36. Oh my goodness. With a tire missing, I believe. That's the right rear tire and some pieces flying off. Something happened. Not entirely sure. Really, we'll see in, I believe, in the replay here. But my goodness, right rear tire is missing. We'll take a look at the replay. That is the 104. Oh man, just speed difference, unfortunately. And then the tire just fell off as well from the angle that he was at.
Yeah, very unfortunate incident, but back up at the front. They were running for 16th at that point. Very unfortunate incident. Back towards the front, though. Third Degree is now pulling a little bit of distance here. Looks like he's going to try and lead this lap, coming back to the line here soon, but the 18 car is definitely going to have something to say about it. He's been quick, but it seems like David Burns has just been a little bit quicker through some of these major corners here, the high-speed turns. He's been able to lean on those tires a little bit more, get a little bit more out of his car, and get back to the lead.
Now at some points it may be better off to really just kind of let these drivers run everything out for the most part and then go from there, but we'll see really how this plays out later on in this race if the fuel saving really is going to help out with these drivers.
I'm sure that is on everybody's mind. Right now, Iro Nam is up to 4th place. We expect to see him pit early and get some fuel before everybody else. He doesn't want to set his hot lap with people behind him. Keep an eye on that later. He's just cruising at this point.
Speaking of cruising, David Burns just kicked it, essentially, almost kind of power slid into the first corner for the most part, but he does hang on to it. Luckily, he does get the lead that time around, but Vandebelt is looking to capitalize as soon as possible and keep an eye here down the Kemmel Straights to make their way first through El Rouge. It's going to be on whichever side that Vandebelt determines passable. He's going to look to the driver's left-hand side. Nothing as of yet. Down the Kemmel Straight and Halfledison with a huge run, as well as Iro Nam behind him. It's going to be 2x2 heading into these next set of corners of Lacombe. But for now, falling in behind, it's going to be David Burns back to 3rd.
Here comes that group from behind. Yus Yonk is now up in the mix, slicing and dicing with these guys. Where did they come from? They managed to make up a lot of ground as these guys were battling and are now looking to throw their hats in the ring for the lead here. Iro Nam, though, back up towards the front, running in 2nd. Going to try and capitalize here and get around that 81 car of Michael Halfledison, doing everything he can to play this race smart, but it's awfully exciting when you're sitting right behind the leader. It makes you want to jump out, pass him, and just go out and lead this race, but he has to think in the long run what the best move will be.
Yeah, and that long run is something to really remember, especially with how split up the field is now. This is pretty much essentially your second group here. These 3 cars in the 45, the 21, and the 10 respectively, but for the time being, it's really pretty much the entire top 7 or so being all together, and Halfledison, I think, is trying to really start to lose a little bit of grip, but he's definitely kicking that car out a lot more than what I'm used to seeing.
He certainly is, and Iro Nam, the rolling Estonian, is licking his chops, trying to just remember not to be too greedy, don't be over aggressive. But when he starts seeing people in front of him slide out and make those tiny mistakes where he gets right up to the back bumper, well, you see it right here. You can't resist going for the pass. He's going to go on driver's left, hug that green line there, green grass line there, and get his way around to put the rolling Estonian Iro Nam up to 1st place.
And we'll see how long he holds on to it. I predict until the Kemmel Straight, just like we've had these 2 passing zones really is the thing. The Kemmel Straight and then this run all the way down from turn 16 down to turn 19 essentially. So really it's something to, again, just keep an eye on. Maybe some of these drivers are really keeping that in mind, saying maybe I should just sit back, save a little bit of fuel. But Aeronam either way with the fastest lap of the race, 2:47.536. So that definitely worked out for him for the time being, and we'll see if anyone can better that fast lap time. And well, if any time is now, it more than likely will be, especially for Halfledison, who does have a very sizable gap and a good time for a run.
Absolutely. The bigger the gap, the more he can draft up, assuming that Eau Rouge goes well for him. And Aeronam cut that corner very close. That's going to give a run to that 81 of Michael Halfledison. Aeronam's going to defend the right side and make him take the wider entry here. Look at Yusionk, though. He is coming in flying. He's all the way up to third, now to second. He's going to try and get the lead here going into the turn. Where did he come from? He's got the lead, and he is going to slide in front of Michael Halfledison. Man, he has been the bridesmaid here more times than I can count. Just stuck in second place. He thinks he gets the lead, and then somebody swoops in and takes it. Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking for him.
Came from fourth place in line all the way through, so apparently this is more of a close to at least super speedway styles of drafting down these straightaways here, down these long straights, and pretty much during the times where we don't have a series of corners is just a lot of advantage for the slipstream to really take effect and get some of these drivers a little bit in the draft, use that slipstream and slingshot around the outside. So it's really quite interesting to see the draft, how it plays out here, as these drivers are practically sliding consistently throughout that series of corners here. Just a long sweeping left-hander as well, a little bit of a slight downhill, and it's a 300 feet in elevation change in total. So it's definitely playing a little bit in effect, more than likely, for some of this draft and some of the speed that these drivers are experiencing.
I think a lot of these guys have been racing at Talladega over on the official side, but looking a little bit further back in the field, Thomas Kick is currently sitting in 14th. He's got Christopher Crook right behind him. Everyone's trying to just work their way around this track. You think they're sitting back and saving fuel at this point? Because Christopher Crook is now up 10 spots, so we certainly got to be pushing this car hard.
Yeah, Josh Bryan sitting 14th, just managing to at least keep a little bit of a sizable gap, maybe a little bit purposefully respectable gap, essentially, between himself and Thomas for the time being. But I know these two are just running together for the most part, and well, Thomas Kick, who was running 14th, had apparently just pulled off and retired, taking the tow, so maybe a little bit of hardware issues on his side, but unfortunately Thomas Kick out of the race. And
that is very frustrating when you've got a run like that going. You're sort of just cruising around in 14th. You're looking to come out of here with a good finish. Right now, though, Yusionk did not lead that last lap. Michael Halfledison managed to work his way around. Let's see what kind of run he can get, though. Let's see if Aeronam or Third Degree Burns can try and get something rolling here as they come through Eau Rouge and down the Kemmel Straight. That's where we've seen these big passes come into play. Is that Kemmel Straight? Will we see another one here? Right now, it looks like Yusionk is a lot quicker than Halfledison. Will he be able to get a run? Along with Aeronam short behind. Yusionk dives to the inside. Where will Aeronam go? Will he take it 3 wide? He will. A bit of a gutsy move there. Aeronam is looking to lead the way. And don't forget about, is that Lee Anderson coming up on the right side there? Slide Michael Halfledison all the way back to 4th. Aeronam and Yusionk are side by side for the lead. That is Lee Anderson trying to stick his nose in there and get a part of that action. Thinks about going 3 wide, thinks better of it. Now coming into this next turn, Bruxelles, hard right-hander all the way around. Big U-turn for these guys. Aeronam is stuck on the outside, non-racing line, and he's going to fall back a bit. Give the lead to Yusionk coming out of the corner.
That was incredible side-by-side racing by those 3-4 drivers. I don't even know at this point, but it was incredible nonetheless. Great job by everyone to somehow come out of it clean, and especially with this. I mean, these cars can kind of be thrown around and really raced a lot closer than you'd really expect. So it's very interesting to see how these drivers usually utilize the size of the Skip Barber cars as compared to something like something that runs here at something else that runs here at Spa, like the 24 Hours of Spa or so, in the GT cars or just anything really related. So I'm pretty sure it's a little bit of a difference, really, that some drivers maybe here might run those GT3 cars or GTE or what have you here at Spa sometimes during the 24 hours. And it's maybe a little bit of a change to really realize, oh, I have a lot more space available to me than I think. What do I do with this?
That is the big question of what do I do with all of this room? Right now, Lee Anderson working on the inside of Ironam. He's going to get a good run going. Slides a bit loose, a bit of oversteer there in that corner. Down Blanchimont coming through that turn. He's going to try and get a run into the last chicanes and get around Yus Yonk. They all want to lead this lap. Here comes Ironam with a great run. He's on the right. They're going to be side by side entering the chicanes. Ironam is clear, but he goes down pit road. He is the first one to stop. He's got a whole train of drivers behind him, though. I see the 125, a third degree behind him. I believe that's the 18 of the fan belt, as well as the 48 of Diogo Francisco. They all come down pit road together.
Only these groups of 4 drivers, pit entry is going to be something to really look out for as well, going from at least about 65 miles an hour on acceleration to try and get into pit road as much as possible, down to 37. So it's really something to keep an eye on as you're spacing between yourself and other drivers as they enter pit road. But regardless, it's going to be Yus Yonk currently leading the field, and well, everyone else taking some fuel.
Exactly right, and they don't take tires here, they're just taking fuel, and the strategy is you come and you pit as early as you can for as short a pit stop as possible. You want to be as close as possible on fuel at the end. However, if you end up running an extra lap, you run the risk of running out of fuel, so it's a very thin line that you're dancing on where you want as short a pit stop as possible. You want to pit as early as you can so that you have a shorter pit stop, but you also don't want to run out of fuel at the end of the race, otherwise you're throwing the whole thing away. So staying out one extra lap is Yus Yonk. Lee Anderson stays out. Halfledison is now up to the lead, but he stayed out as well. I expect to see them coming down pit road within the next lap or two.
And let's see what these drivers do have in store and what they have in plans as well for their next run. But these drivers are the ones that, for the most part, kind of ran in the draft, especially Yus Yonk and Lee Anderson. They, for a majority of this, ran in, so I wouldn't be surprised if they could run at least one more lap. But again, only time will tell, and quite literally, we are already under halfway, at least in terms of time. So we'll see really how this plays out. Halfledison, though, using all the fuel in the lead as we take a quick look back to 4th and 5th, who are a long ways back between the leaders.
They certainly are working their way around. You have to wonder how much fuel they're saving, if they're trying to catch the leaders about 4 seconds ahead of them, or if they're just out here cruising and banking on that shorter pit stop and something going right for them. You never quite know. It's a lot of different strategies here, but the front 3 have really pulled away now, and you have the 28 car far behind, just barely holding on there, trying to keep up. You don't want to fall too far back, but you also don't want to push the car too hard.
Something to really make sure and that you don't push the car too hard, as it was a little bit of a bobble for the 81, but managed to hang on to it for the time being as well. There's the next group of cars going into pit road. It's going to be your leaders.
Another group coming in. Here comes WashTech into pit road. He pits from 4th. Yus Yonk, Michael Halfledison, Lee Anderson all come in. Nick Hardy stays out, though. He's now being scored as the race leader. Looks like he's going to try his luck for one more lap. Checking in with Iro Nam, though, he's sort of out there racing on his own. We expect to see this strategy where he pits, but he's got a lot of drivers behind him that followed him in, so now he's going to have to battle with that 48 car of Diogo Francisco right behind him, but coming to the line and crossing it now. He's ready to start another lap. Let's see how he manages to hold out.
Coming down into the first series of corners, it's going to be Nam Francisco, and just barely edging out, it's going to be Lee Anderson, I believe, first off. No, it's Halfledison, and they're going to come right in the middle of this as well. And we got, well, pretty much the battle for the lead back on track once again.
Third degree had to check up quite a lot to let Michael Halfledison in, so that's going to hurt his run, but they're going to make it all up right here in the long Kemmel straightaway. Iro Nam has Diogo Francisco right behind him. He shifts up to the outside right now, trying to hold on to this lead. Here comes Third Degree, trying to make a big move happen, just not enough room. I don't think he's going to dive bomb right now. Thinks better of it. But these guys are looking to be your lead pack when it all comes back together. Ironam is leading the way for these guys.
Yeah, this is more of a proverbial battle for the proverbial lead, as it's going to be Nick Carty who is in the lead for the time being. He does have yet to pit, as well as second place going to be Luis Rodriguez Lujan in P2. A little bit of a ways behind, though, by apparently 3 minutes, about a 3-minute gap. So we'll see really just how they sort themselves out through the field regardless. Right now, Nick Carty with a great gap between himself and the leaders, and we'll see if he can kind of secure that lead that he has for the time being. He just has to be smooth in and smooth out on pit road.
Absolutely right, and it's looking like Johan and Yus are our big losers here on this pit stop. We'll have to see if they can make this whole race come together for themselves, but interesting strategies all coming together here. Ironam looks to be cycling out to be the leader. We'll see what he can do with it now with just under just under 15 minutes to go.
Time is ticking down, and I'm wondering if some of these drivers are really getting updates about it and kind of starting to wonder now this point is when the white flag will fly, which is of course going to be at the 0-0 mark. Does Nick Carty go to pit road? He does. And he's going to have Lujan right in behind him, most likely. He does. A bit of a gap between these two as he slows down in time.
Coming back around, still leading this pack is Ironam, and still being hounded by Diogo Francisco. Battling for the third spot in this pack is David Burns, and right behind him, that 81 of Michael Halfordson, trying to make his way back up to the front to compete with these guys. He's been shuffled back to fourth in this pack. Crossing the line, Ironam is scored in third, Diogo Francisco in fourth. Luis Rodriguez is on pit road, as well as Nick Carty. So these guys are now the leaders, with Nick Carty and Luis Rodriguez Lujan on pit road. But Ironam goes wide there and really takes that corner wide. Probably collected an incident point for it. And you have to remember, only 17 of those before you're kicked out. We'll see if he will be able to get a good run and hold on to that lead through the Camel Straight and Eau Rouge.
Unfortunately for Carty and Rodriguez Lujan, they are pretty much well out of the lead battle at this point. And that means it's going to be pretty much the same battle that we had before. And speaking of that same battle, here comes David Burns flying by on the outside. Maybe Lee Anderson in the background for a moment. He's thought about it. He decided against it. Lee Anderson backs out. But David Burns sends it on the outside with a slipstream and a slingshot. He is back in the lead once again.
A move straight out of Talladega Nights. He dropped it into another gear and flew around the outside of Ironam. Coming through the rest of the track, we're coming into Bruxelles here. That long right-hand turn. Ironam is now just a couple of car lengths behind, but it's a very, very difficult place to pass here on track. Really, his next opportunity is probably going to come at Blanchimont. See if he can make something there, but we've really seen passing limited to the Camel Straight and Blanchimont. Not too much passing in the corners here, so you have to capitalize on these opportunities when they come at you.
And those opportunities, I'm looking through the list as well. Plus 15 for Matt Tempest. Great job by him to really just make his way up and kind of just hang on. While he is 17th, he is doing a great job for the time being, of course. And all you can see, started 33rd near the back. We had 41 scheduled, 40 started. So Tempest being the one who's really showing a lot of determination for the time being. But right now, it's still going to be a bit of an interesting battle for the lead, at least for the time being. But right now it's just down to how much fuel you have left rather than really actual side-by-side battling.
You're exactly right, and we saw Ironam hit a bit early. Is he going to try and stay behind and save fuel? Of course not. He goes to the left side of Third Degree. You see the 337 stick his nose in and think better of it. Lee Anderson, he's being very careful. He knows he has to make it to the end. He must first finish before he can finish first. Coming into the chicanes, though, right at the end, Ironam is going to lead this lap and stay back out front.
Now for Ironam, he's showing that he is someone to definitely keep an eye on throughout this race, and showing why he is, of course, a multi-time champion here. He's just absolutely determined. He doesn't give up the lead just like that. And interestingly enough, I'm still thinking that, well, some of these drivers should be saving fuel and staying behind other drivers, right? Well, not here apparently, because everyone is just very determined to get up into the lead and lead the way, get some clean air as well, and just at least lead a lap.
I believe that these guys are racing as if they have all the fuel in the world, so a lot of confidence coming. Here comes Third Degree to the left side of Ironam, right here in the Kemmel Straight. We've seen it back and forth between these two. Here comes Diogo Francisco with a good run. I don't think he's going to have enough speed. Lee Anderson, though, is going to go to the right side of Diogo. He's going to make that pass. He's going to get up to the left side of Ironam, it looks like, but checks up. He's going to slide into third. Maybe he can make a move over in Blanchimont. But coming now through these corners, it seems like David Burns is right on top of his game. Ironam is not far behind. He's never gone more than 2 races without a win. And right now, that's at risk today for that 78 car of Ironam. The 9-time champion has a lot of work to do if he's going to stay out front and keep the lead, because David Burns is driving awfully quick.
Yeah, David Burns just on a hard charge at this point, showing that he is someone to contend with. He is someone to keep an eye on, and this is only race 1, by the way. So this is quite really just exciting to see how these drivers will really race amongst each other. This is only the first race of the season out of, I believe, 5, as mentioned earlier on. So we'll see, really. But right now, wondering if Lee Anderson, who's been kind of just sitting in the back, really just watching this all play out in front, if he'll do anything. Let's take a look at Jost Jonk and Johan Vandevelde. As those two are just running together, I wouldn't really expect them to continue their battle until maybe the final couple of laps. But right now, as you can see how close they are just to the tail end, if they can either slingshot their way by, like slingshot each other up their way through the field and through to really make the gap a little bit smaller, that'd be really quite interesting and very innovative. But I wouldn't be surprised if they chose to run single file too. Well, there goes that plan, because here comes Vandevelde to the left-hand side.
There goes Ironam as well as Lee Anderson. Lee Anderson's going to take a look here, think better of it, doesn't quite have the run yet. David Burns is still looking to fall back a little bit, as Michael Halflidson is now up to 4th place. These guys are all fighting for position. Diogo Francisco, though, is back there in 5th. Ironam is going to lead the lap. Let's put Lee Anderson up to 2nd place, though.
Lee Anderson, I think, is slowly starting to realize there's a little bit of a methodical charge up towards the front at this point. And, well, there it is, fastest lap, Lee Anderson, and he nearly runs into the back of Ironam. It was, well, so much for that 2nd place, and he's going to go wide just to make sure that he doesn't hit David Burns, doesn't come across David Burns, and great utilization of that. But I wonder exactly what happened here. Not sure if Lee Anderson had either carried too much speed, or maybe just wasn't expecting Ironam to really check up that early.
I'm not quite sure, but he misses braking zone, went wide on that corner. Let's see if he can still formulate a run, though. It's looking likely down this Kemmel Straight. He's got Ironam in his sights, but Michael Halflidson has to check up with how big of a run he had on David Burns. Burns goes up to the left side. He's all the way on the left side of the track. Here comes Lee Anderson on the left side of Ironam. Ironam is unfazed, manages to hold the lead. These guys are starting to get aggressive here. There's under 8 minutes to go in this race. It's looking like about 3 more laps for these guys.
Yeah, roughly about 2, maybe 3 laps at most at this point, depending on when the 0-0 hits. And when that hits, it's pretty much an automatic white flag when the time expires. So depending on really just when how these lap times run through, and really when it is, we'll see when the white flag hits and when the checkered flag falls as well. So it's going to be something to keep an eye on the time, especially more than likely something that these drivers are thinking about in the back of their mind as this race wears its way down. And I'm pretty sure even Diogo Francisco is starting to look back and starting to get his way back up to the front here from the back of this field. Well, back of this little group, I should say.
He certainly is, but you can't count out any of these contenders. Anyone from 1st to 5th really has a shot. And if Jost Jonk or Johan Vandevelde make something happen and somehow find another 2 seconds to catch up with that train, maybe they could make something happen, but that's a That's an awfully tall order to catch up with these guys at the pace they're running at. So I expect to see one of these top 5 guys take it home. But remember, there's still over 6 minutes left in this race. One tiny mistake from any of them, somebody gets into somebody else, and the whole afternoon is gone, and the entire race goes to waste. Lee Anderson looks to the left side of Ironam, looks to get around. He does. They are side by side for 4th, though. That's Diogo Francisco and Michael Haflidason making it work side by side. Ironam falls back to 2nd. And 3rd Degree Burns is sort of just cruising back there, biding his time. I think we're going to see him make a move here down the Kemmel Straight and get the lead.
This time by, it's going to be lap 13. I believe it's a predicted 15 laps for this race. Waiting for it to update just in case across the start-finish line, but something to keep an eye on, the predicted 15 laps. So in theory, we should be at 3 laps to go at this point. And of course, it is 2 laps or so, just over 2 laps, which will be under 6 minutes. So we'll see how this plays out. Of course, it is subject to change, but something that I've noticed is Ironam, he's really not been anywhere besides 2nd ever since he made his way up there. He just kind of sits off in 2nd place and really just cannot get shuffled back unless he's passed by multiple drivers. And he's going to get a great run through the uphill of El Rouge and down the left-hand side beside Lee Anderson. But now this is going to leave the inside open, in the middle, I should say, for David Burns. Does he make the pass through the middle? No, he makes it off the right-hand side. Haflidason almost makes it 4 wide, but luckily for him, it's going to be drivers in front, and it's a huge group. 3 wide into the chicane. No, Haflidason decides to check off and say, yeah, you guys have fun. Lee Anderson trying to hang on the right-hand side of the track. He'll have the preferred corner here in this next set, and he'll get by Ironam, who gets shuffled back to 3rd for the time being.
He shuffled back to 3rd, but through this long right-hander, we can expect to see him lose that position unless he gets a fantastic run through. We talked about the 2nd pack of the Fan Belt and Yusionk. They are gaining on this lead pack right now, so you have to keep in mind that these guys aren't quite down and out yet. They've got a lot of work to do, but they are gaining on the lead guys. Right now, Lee Anderson, though, is out in front. Ironam falls back to 3rd. That puts 3rd Degree Burns back to 4th, actually. And, oh, I'm sorry, 3rd Degree is up to 1st. I've got timing and scoring all messed up in my head. So 3rd Degree is now all the way out in 1st. He's got about 10 car lengths over Lee Anderson in 2nd. Now he just needs to hold on and try and put down some quick laps.
Right now, those quick laps are something to keep an eye on. In 3 at the start-finish line, it should be maybe relatively 2 laps to go. So we'll see, again, how it plays out, again, in theory. So really just something that is really something that these drivers would keep in the back of their heads. But now Diogo Francisco in the 48. He started 1st. He's now currently sitting in 3rd place. He's there. He's ready. But Lee Anderson is not letting the lead go without a fight. He's going to pass David Burns on the left-hand side in the final section of corners here for the most part. And we'll see if anyone can really have a little bit of a run down into turn 19 here in this right-hander, and then turn 20, the immediate left-hander. For now, estimated 2 laps to go just for the most part. And we'll see what the time comes across the start-finish line next time around.
It's going to be very close at the line, but they should be able to get that extra lap in. Hopefully these guys all have enough fuel. I believe all their calculations should be correct. Ironam is sitting in 4th place, absolutely nails turn 1. A perfect entry, apex, and exit. He's looking to make something happen through Eau Rouge and up through the Kemmel Straight, draft his way around these guys, but don't forget about 3rd Degree Burns. We saw how quick he is. He's been drafting up and passing these guys like nobody else here. He gets a fantastic run coming through the Kemmel Straight. He's looking to gain the lead, but don't forget about Diogo Francisco either. He's got a great run coming too, and Ironam is following close behind.
And slingshotting straight through the middle is going to be Diogo Francisco at this point. We'll see how this plays out. The more these drivers go side by side, the more it'll be available for Yusionk and Vendeveld to catch up. Lee Anderson slides almost into David Burns. He manages to hang on to it, which is Anderson's we ride on board, but we see David Burns making his way by essentially over on the left-hand side, but Francisco back up to 1st, but David Burns not letting that go without a fight, and we'll see when the leader crosses the line.
Certainly not without a fight at all. David Burns doing everything he can. That bright blue driver's suit in the black and yellow car standing out. He's hoping that he will look good at the top of the podium in victory lane. doing everything he can, but also back there is Iro Nav, currently riding around in 4th place behind Lee Anderson, but he's got Michael Haflidason right there on his back bumper. He's wanting to capitalize as well. Nobody here has been shown as the clearly dominant car. Everybody's just been shuffling. I think it's going to be one of these top 5 guys that takes it, but it's really too hard to say who it's going to be. It's just who it comes down to right at the end. It's going to be close.
And speaking of things being close, it's going to be close on time as well. Just under a minute. We'll see when the leader crosses the start-finish line, and someone in the background sliding. I believe that was Haflidason, who was practically sideways trying to get in behind Iro Nam. And I think for the first time this race, Iro Nam is back now, shuffled out of the podium spots. But right now, for the time being, it's going to be a battle between Lee Anderson and David Burns. Anderson, not with the best run slingshot, but he does have the draft of Diogo Francisco in front of him to help out. And David Burns will not put up too much of a defense. It's going to be close, but should be the white flag lap this time by.
We will see what the story is coming to the line there. The rolling Estonian makes a dive bomb move into the chicane. No contact is made. He's not going to be able to make the pass. Iro Nam. White flag is in the air, though, getting ready for these guys to come home and determine a winner. Michael Haflidason got a bad run out of that corner, had to collect the car and save it. He's going to lose that run there. We'll see who's got the lead coming out of the Kemmel Straight, though. That's where most of the passes have been made.
All right, now it's going to be Lee Anderson on the near proverbial back bumper of Diogo Francisco. So they're going to head their way uphill through El Rouge. A quick left-hander, then a snap to the right. Anderson is going to have the run, but not as much as David Burns will have the run here, depending on how well everyone takes these corners. And everyone going to be going full bore. Lee Anderson to the driver's left-hand side of Diogo Francisco. David Burns looking to capitalize, but maybe a bit too far back to make anything happen. We'll see. Francisco trying to put up as much of a defense as possible without giving up the lead. Iro Nam and David Burns will be side by side. 3-1 behind as Haflidason sends it up the inside past David Burns.
Very, very close racing. It's amazing that they all managed to come out of it here. Michael Haflidason is doing everything he can. He says, I've been stuck in the back. I've been stuck in second. I've had the lead taken away from me so many times this race. He wants it back badly. He's got one more real chance that we've seen here through Blanchimont to try and take the lead. Remember, though, off the chicanes, that's where the start-finish line is. Not where they started the race, but that's where the finish line is for these guys. So it's whoever comes out of those chicanes the quickest is going to be the winner of this race. So expect to see a dive bomb move. You want to be on the left side so that you have the advantage coming off that last chicane.
And someone trying to get that advantage is Lee Anderson. He is still not letting that go without a fight. He's going to try and make a pass where we really haven't seen passes made. Francisco shuts the door immediately. And, well, this final run here down from turn number 16 down into turn number 19. This long straightaway, this long sweeping straightaway is going to be something to really keep an eye on for passing zones here as Lee Anderson will try one more attempt.
One last try here to make something happen for Michael Haflidason and Lee Anderson and for Diogo Francisco to hold the lead. Here comes Lee Anderson looking to the left side. That's where he needs to be. He's side by side with Diogo Francisco and holding on to it. He will clear him. Here comes Michael Haflidason. Gets side by side. How is he going to be able to work his way around? Is he going to have something? Iro Nam goes off the course. Far back on the right, Michael Haflidason makes contact with Diogo Francisco. They are 3 wide for the lead. They make contact. They hold it together. Diogo Francisco is sideways. He spins it going there. Looks like Lee Anderson is going to come out winning this race with Michael Haflidason in second. David Burns, third degree, is fighting. They're side by side for second. I don't know who got it. Burns comes in second by 0.005 of a second off of the last chicane. Michael Haflidason in third and Iro Nam in fourth. Johan Van Belt comes home in fifth.
And looking through as Francisco apparently got shuffled down to, I believe, 7th place. He did, yeah, he got shuffled down, unfortunately, now to 7th place after all that. But a great race put up by everybody. Congratulations to Lee Anderson as well. David Burns sneaking in right at the last second. He's been sneaking in everywhere, and well, he shows why he might be called third-degree Burns for the most part. But races are still going on here between a couple drivers. It's going to be a side-by-side battle, or appears to be 20th or so. But right now, just a few passes being made by these last few groups of drivers that are still involved in their races.
A lot of wrecks a little bit further back. Everyone's sort of just getting it all sorted out here, though. Right now, coming to the line looks to be a battle for 20th. I think Luis Morga ran out of fuel. He's very slow off the last chicane, works his way across the line, finishes 24th. Ludwig Sauer, who had the fastest lap at one point in the race, is now coming into the last chicanes. He's looking to bring it home 26th, I believe. So sort of rounding out the field here, getting these last couple guys across the finish line. But man, what a fantastic finish. That was some hard racing.
And there currently is about around 29th, and Scott Angelo's out of fuel, actually. So it's going to be around Christopher Gearlos and Johansson at 64. They nearly make contact. That's going to be again for 29th, at least 30th. We'll see how this plays out as they're going to go side by side into the final corners. It's going to be out of 64 or 36, and with the preferred lane. No, big, great switchback by the 64. Will it pay off at the start-finish line? Side-by-side drag race? No, he gives it to him, I believe. He actually gave him the position for 29th. Out of respect, I believe. He braked at the last second.
That was a fantastic show of sportsmanship by him and throughout this entire race. Let's take a quick break, though, and we'll come back with the official results. We saw a fantastic race there towards the end, a very hard-fought finish that comes home with Lee Anderson, your winner, David third-degree burns in second, and Michael Hafledson brings it home third. We're going to talk to these top three drivers, but coming home fourth is Iro Nam. Johan van der Velde, the fan belt, comes home fifth. Jus Jonk sixth. Diogo Francisco, after spinning at the end, comes home seventh. Alex Janssen, who had a very rough start, rebounds his way back to eighth. Welsh-Tech Postasek in 9th, and Nick Hardy comes home 10th.
Finishing in 11th place is going to be Luis Rodriguez Lujan, managing an 11th place finish. Started there, finished there, not too bad of a day for him. Andre Seelander finishes in 12th, Josh Bryan 13th, 14th is going to be Henrik Kamara, 15th going to be Christopher Krug, 16th is Matt Tempest, 17th will be Pablo Lozano Santust, I believe is how that is. Definitely mispronounced that. Apologies. But Neil Smet finishes 18th. 19th will be the 42 of Eric Lukel. And 20th is going to be Alice Fotek.
Frederick Neptune comes home 21st. Neo Bamber 22nd. Greg Plankart 23rd. Luis Morga 24th. Andy Saunders 25th. Ludwig Sauer comes home 26th. Paul Carey 27th. Peter Reed in that 954 brings it home 28th. 29th for Christopher Giros, and 17th, started in 17th and finishes 30th, is Jonas Kailakila in the 64 car.
And rounding out the relatively 40-car field, it's going to be Vincent Graham in 31st, Scott Angelo in 32nd, Simon Witten, Matthew Maldsey, Neil Stephenson, Troy Banks, Timmy Nylander, Thomas Kick, Rob Jackson, and Scott Dawkins round out the final portions of your field, as well as 41st being Rodrigo Capleto.
Here in the booth with us, we have our third place finisher, our second place finisher, David Third Degree Burns. First of all, David, how are you feeling after that finish right there? That was some mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah, thankfully you clarified that because I did beat Michael at the line again. Wow, that was an exciting finish. Good race. It was a little hectic towards the end, though. Michael sticking his nose in where it didn't belong, I thought. But they were in P2.
Certainly a great run throughout the day for you. What was the key here? We saw most of the passing being done on the straightaways. Was that just out of necessity and taking care of the car, or could you just not really get the runs going through the corners?
No, it's just with Spa. It's just keeping position. When you're in a pack of 5 or 6, I'm never really comfortable being the 5th or 6th car because I make a mistake, you just lose the draft. So my plan was to stay in 3rd or 4th at the worst, and occasionally drop to jump to the front. So that's pretty much what I did, and it worked.
It certainly did work out for you. Do you have anyone you want to thank for a second place finish here today, David?
Just Michael, as always, for not being quick to the line.
Well, congratulations on that second place finish for you, Mr. Third Degree. It seems like you're having a pretty good time here in the Absolute Beginners League. Congratulations on that second place finish, and hopefully we'll see you up here in the booth again next time.
Lovely. Thanks for that, guys. See you later.
Absolutely. Have a good one. And I'm going to pass the mic off to Gary here to talk to Mr. Michael Halflidison. You had some, David Burns had some interesting commentary for you, Michael. So I'm going to let Gary dig into that with you.
Only slightly. He did say, he did thank you for not being too quick to the line, Michael. So take that as you will. So aside from that, you did manage a podium finish at least as well. Started second, finished third, and with a great battle throughout the race as well. How was that out there today?
Yeah, first of all, you're welcome, David. It was a good race. I'm very happy with the race. I didn't expect to qualify P2, so to be up there was the main focus for me in the beginning. And then it was just holding position. I didn't want to be up front too much because I was trying to leg back, kind of save fuel, so I could have a shorter pit stop, which I think I succeeded with. And then towards the end, everything got turned upside down, and almost we played Wreckfest, but it was a fun race. I'm happy with P3.
Yeah, it's definitely a great finish as well throughout this race. With the strategy at pretty much throughout the entire race, everyone was making passes. Did at any point you think, maybe I should? Did it really seem like anyone was really willing to kind of just lay back and save fuel, or was it just more of just a let's all just pass each other kind of mentality? Because it did seem like the latter for the most part.
It did seem like it was just I'll pass you type of race, but still it wasn't like as hectic as it was towards the end. So I mean, it was still kind of cool racing. So it wasn't like too hectic, like okay, what's going on type situation all the race.
Definitely is quite interesting overall to see how this played out. Before we let you go, is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your third place finish?
Myself and Thomas and everybody in my stream, because I'm a live streamer, that follows me and basically stays with me and help me stay mental during the race, because if I were to be alone, I would go insane probably.
Well, luckily you didn't do that, so that's good. Thanks for your time, and we hope to talk to you again next time.
Thank you.
Next up here in the booth is our fifth place finisher, the number 18, Johan van der Velde, who excitedly told us here in our little private chat, I led a lap, I did a good job. Congratulations on it. Congratulations on your lap led. So tell us a little bit, just walk us through this race here from your perspective, and when you led that lap, what was going through your mind?
I mean, this race, I knew I was living on borrowed time because I could tag along with Alex and David in qualifying. And when you can tag along with especially David in qualifying, you know you're going to do well. And that just gave me a great qualifying position and allowed me to stay with the lead pack, because I had no business of being in the top 7 whatsoever. Alex should have been there instead of me. All by myself, I had no pace. So I know that there's one bonus point for fastest lap. And I tried to stay with the top 3 because that allows you to slingshot past them, past the 2 guys in front up Camel Straight. So that's what I did in lap 3 or lap 4, and that allowed me to let one lap, because that just gave me that one bonus point that I was going for, and I was very happy. Just a shame I couldn't bring it home to a podium position in the end.
Well, you ran a fantastic race nonetheless. You come home here fifth. You started in third. Do you have anyone you want to thank for that fantastic run and coming home fifth?
I mean, David, David and Alex, they gave me a great run. Also, Joost Jonk and I, we had an amazing run in the second stint because we both, the top five uses, well, almost everyone uses software for the pit stops. And the top five had a great pit stop because of that. Joost and I messed up our pit stops, and that's why we were far behind. But even though we had that against us, the two of us just worked together so well. And with a few more laps, we probably would have caught the top group. So also a shout out to Joost for working together very well.
Well, congratulations again on that fifth place finish. Looks like you're making friends out here and having a good time. So that's awesome to see. That's what these leagues are all about. Congratulations on that fifth place finish, though. And hopefully we can get you up in the top 3 here for the next event.
Fingers crossed, man. Thanks. See you soon.
Absolutely. See you soon, Johan. Well, everyone, that was a fantastic event here today. Gary, do you have any last thoughts on this event?
Well, it's definitely really exciting for this event to see just how everyone really kind of worked together, how essentially very few crashes there were, aside from a few spills here and there. But regardless, I think it was absolutely incredible to see how this race played out. Really just everyone handled Spa for this track, is how pit stops really came into play.
It certainly was all about the pit stops here and a strategy that worked its way out, and it worked well for Lee Anderson. Fought hard at the end and comes home your winner, with third degree David Burns coming home second and Michael Hafledison coming home third. Ironam, that streak is broken now. He did not win this race, so he's now gone more than 2 races without winning for the first time here. The 9-time champion is looking to rebound, though. Thank you to the organizers of this league, the Absolute Beginners League. They did a fantastic job with the event today. Had a lot of fun with this event. Thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. You can see the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thank you to the team today, consisting of myself, Jeff McConey, Gary Weaver, our director, Joe Peak, and Dougie Beard, who provides our amazing camera views. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at /Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. That's gsrc.storenvy.com. The link, though, is in the description below. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already, so that you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. The next race for the Absolute Beginners is at Zandvoort on May 10th. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, everybody, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.